Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're jumping right into one of the most famous science fiction stories of all time. But we're going to look at it through a completely different lens. We're going to explore how H.G. Wells transformed a terrifying tale of an alien invasion into a blistering, scathing critique of Victorian society and British imperialism. You see, we usually think of the War of the Worlds as a story about Martians, but really, it's a story about us.
Here is our roadmap for this explainer. We'll cover the height of empire, look at the concept of an inverted conquest, the shattering of infinite complacency, those ultimate imperialists, and finally, a warning against hubris.
Section 1. The Height of Empire, specifically Britain in 1898.
To really understand why this novel hits so hard, you have to put yourself in 1898. Britain ruled the globe. They were exercising unprecedented global dominance over nearly a quarter of the Earth's land area. They were entirely serene in their immense power and their technological superiority over colonized territories. This was a nation that built its wealth and power on the conquest of other peoples across Africa, Asia, and beyond. And there was this profound, almost unshakable belief in the superiority of British civilization.
And Wells captures that exact mindset perfectly, right at the very beginning of the story. Listen to this. With infinite complacency, men went to and fro over this globe about their little affairs, serene in their assurance of their empire over matter. What a powerful phrase, right? Infinite complacency. It totally reflects the sheer hubris and absolute confidence of the Victorian mindset right before the invasion hits. Humanity, and specifically the British government class, felt they sat incredibly comfortably at the very top of the cosmic food chain. But Wells is about to completely pull the rug out from under them.
Moving to Section 2. An inverted conquest and reversing roles.
This brings us to the core thesis of our explainer, this brilliant concept of an inverted conquest. Wells deliberately flips the script here. He takes the British Empire, a nation heavily reliant on advanced technology and military might to colonize supposedly weaker nations, and suddenly shoves them into the position of the technologically inferior race being brutally colonized. He forces his British readership to experience the exact same horrors they were actively inflicting on others. And the thing is, he doesn't leave this as some subtle subtext. He makes it shockingly explicit.
Yeah, Wells points straight to real-world historical atrocities to anchor his sci-fi metaphor in a really chilling reality. He forces the reader to think about the Aboriginal Tasmanians. He notes that within the space of just 50 years, they were entirely swept out of existence in a war of extermination waged by European immigrants. This wasn't some imagined fiction. This was recent, brutal history.
Then he hits the reader with this blistering rhetorical question. Are we such apostles of mercy as to complain if the Martians warred in the same spirit? He's directly challenging the audience. He is actively stripping away any lingering sense of Victorian moral superiority. Because, think about it, if humans treat other humans as inferior animals to be wiped out for resources, how can we possibly complain when a superior alien intellect looks at our planet and decides to do the exact same thing to us?
Section 3. Shattering infinite complacency and the illusion of safety.
Now, what makes the invasion so terrifying is where it happens. This isn't on a distant, exotic battlefield across the world. The first cylinder lands on Horsell Common, right near Woking. That's a mundane, quiet suburb where Wells himself actually lived. The safe, familiar, everyday streets of England are suddenly overshadowed by towering, walking war machines. These tripods literally brought the terror of colonial extermination directly to the heart of the empire. The safe and familiar became utterly alien.
The characters figure out incredibly fast that they are completely and utterly outmatched. As the artilleryman famously states, this isn't a war. It never was a war, any more than there's war between men and ants. The British military, supposedly the greatest power in the world at the time, is just obliterated instantly. This isn't a battle between equals. It's a terrifying, systematic extermination. The British are suddenly reduced to the status of actual insects under the Martian heel.
And under that immense, crushing pressure, the complex, highly ordered world of Victorian England just completely collapses. The thin veneer of civilization is stripped right away. Society breaks down. People violently turn on each other in mass panics trying to escape London. You even see the curate, a symbol of organized religion and morality, descend into total madness and fanatical terror because he just can't reconcile his faith with this apocalyptic threat. Wells is showing us exactly how fragile our social order truly is when faced with the absolute unknown.
Section 4. The Ultimate Imperialists and the Martian Threat.
So who are these invaders? The Martians represent all that is bad about imperialism, basically pushed to a terrifying evolutionary extreme. They're described as having intellects vast and cool and unsympathetic. They've literally evolved past organic emotion, meaning they lack any empathy, guilt, or remorse. They function purely as a selfish intelligence. Their own planet is dying, so they view Earth strictly as a resource to be plundered, and they look at humans merely as inferior animals. To them, we're literally cattle. They are the perfect, ruthless colonizers. They are social Darwinism fully realized, where the strong simply consume the weak without a second thought.
It's a chillingly direct parallel. On one side, you have European expansionists using advanced military might, think Maxim machine guns, to conquer native populations. And on the flip side, you have the Martian invaders utilizing overwhelmingly superior technology against the British. Both sides are using sheer scientific and military advantage to subjugate populations they've arbitrarily decided are biologically and intellectually inferior.
Just look at the specific weapons the Martians use. The heat ray is this invisible, inevitable sort of heat that turns men to fire in an instant. Then there's the black smoke, a stifling, poisonous chemical vapor used to methodically clear out resistance, almost like men smoking out a wasp's nest. These devastating fictional weapons are a stark, undeniable metaphor for the industrial advantages used to build European empires. It was also Wells's grim prediction for the future of warfare, a prediction that came horribly true with chemical weapons in World War I just a couple of decades later.
Which brings us to Section 5, a warning against hubris and nature's defense.
Here is the brilliant twist of irony at the end of the whole thing. The seemingly invincible Martians, they aren't defeated by British artillery or human ingenuity or some massive military push. All of man's grand devices fail completely. Instead, the Martians are brought down simply because they lack immunity to Earth's bacteria. These ultimate imperialists, who have completely mastered physics and heavy machinery, are wiped out by the very things they couldn't even see. It entirely parodies the simplistic might makes right reading of social Darwinism. As the narrator so beautifully observes, they were slain after all man's devices had failed by the humblest things that God in His wisdom has put upon this earth. It forces a really profound humbling of humanity, because by the toll of 1 billion deaths, our microscopic allies won the war. It absolutely proves that intellectual, militaristic, and technological dominance do not guarantee survival in the grand scheme of nature. And so we're left with a rather heavy, lingering question. Through this inverted conquest, H.G. Wells essentially grabbed his Victorian readers and forced them to look in the mirror, to see the sheer brutality of their own empire reflected back in the cold, unsympathetic eyes of the Martians. Today, over a century later, as we continue to grapple with humanity's relationship to power, technology, and each other, we really have to ask ourselves, have we actually outgrown our own infinite complacency? Or do we still secretly view ourselves as the serene masters of the universe? Thanks for exploring this with me on The Explainer.